So let's talk Frieren Beyond Journey's End, because I've been sleeping on this anime. I've read some chapters of the manga in the beginning, but I kind of dropped it pretty fast. And then I heard all this hype about the anime, so I just had to try it. And I binged this shit in, I think, like 3 days. Before we get into it more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's dive right into it. So Frieren is a very refreshing take on the typical adventure anime. So, you know, they have a party, they have to defeat the Demon King, but instead of showing us the way from the beginning of the party and all the way up to them trying to defeat the Demon King, they show us the aftermath after the Demon King has been slayed. I like how they start off the anime, and this is where some spoilers come, so if you haven't seen the anime yet, go and watch this shit now and then come back to this video. But I like how they start off the anime with showing the party in their younger years, but also in the first couple of episodes that aside from Frieren and Aizen, who are of course an elf and a dwarf, the others really age because, you know, they're human. They age, they get older, they die. I like how they start off the anime that way, at least not in the first episode, but in the first couple of episodes, so it doesn't drag on too long, and that the focus can really be on Frieren and her journey. Aside from being a refreshing take on a typical adventure anime, I also think that the characters are quite fun in itself. You know, Frieren is a different type of main character, and the support cast as well, being Fern and Stark, are also not your typical support cast, because as a party, as a whole, the three of them, they're OP. Like, Stark is strong as hell, Fern is strong as hell, and of course Frieren is OP as fuck. But they still have this, you know, kind of jolly and often a bit awkward dynamic in it too, but it's still wholesome to look at and you really enjoy following their story. It's good how they also switch at certain times between the current time and the time when Frieren traveled with like the heroes party, so you can really see the two different perspectives of her in her, well, a bit younger years. You know, for elfen years it doesn't really matter, and now the aftermath in which she's a bit wiser. She has a different look on life because of Himmel too, so it's really nice to see that dynamic between the current time and the previous time. The last couple of episodes have really focused on how strong Frieren really is, you know, especially the last episode. For those who haven't seen it yet, a little bit of a spoiler is coming right now, but in the last episode you see a clone of Frieren and them being really afraid, and even mentioning that if this was the real Frieren, they would have just head out straight away. And not to mention her breaking the barrier in the first test, so they're really focusing on Frieren, her might, Frieren, her strength. So I really love to see that, because she's quite of a passive character, but I would say a passive aggressive character, because if she really goes for it, she really goes for it. But overall, she's quite taken aback and just, you know, more on the chill side. And I do have to say, he just got introduced into the story, but Denken is a different breed. Like, the way you see all these mages and magicians focus on the way they fight, it's just different in their mindset as well. Denken, he has a different way of thinking, a different way of looking at fights, battles, and even this test. I really like him as a character. The scene in which he says, we don't have any magical power left, they don't have any magical power left, let's just get down and scrap. That's not something a lot of magicians would do. I don't even know if any magician would do that, but he got down there and gave them some hands. So overall, I really like the support cast, the other characters that get introduced into the story. I'm curious to see how the story develops and in which direction the story goes from this point on. But to everyone here, this is a recommended watch, because you're going to enjoy this. I might even do episode reviews, because this shit is getting better and better every episode. From the characters who get introduced, to the fights, to the main character herself developing, this is just a recommended and enjoyable watch. Looking at the main side characters next to Frieren, we have Stark and Fern. Starting with Fern, who we get introduced to first. She was kind of found or picked up by Hyter and started living with him, kind of taking care of him as well since he got older and older. And shout out to him, because he kind of scammed Frieren into training Fern, which was a really good move since he knows Frieren, you know, they've been traveling for a long time, so he knows how to play her and kind of play into her interests. The first moment where Frieren was looking for Fern was really interesting, since even then, when she was as young as she was at the time, Frieren had a really difficult time finding her. This is due to Fern, her incredible skill skill in controlling and detecting mana, so she can also control the mana she has herself, so it's harder for people to find her. And of course, Frieren would have found her anyway, but she still pointed out that it was hard for her to find her. This is also something that came back into the series where she was fighting against the guy, and he also said, I didn't even detect her, I didn't even notice her until she was right at him. I wouldn't say she's OP, but she's strong for sure, especially how quick she is with initiating and launching her attacks, which has been shown to be very simple but very overwhelming for a lot of mages to fight against. Next we have Stark. Stark was trained by Aizen. I like how Stark got introduced into the story because he got introduced like he was that shit, like he was really one of them once. At least that's how he got introduced into the story. When we actually met him, you saw that he was quite scared, that he scammed his way into the view that people had of him right now. But in this first meeting, Frieren noticed that things were a bit different than he viewed them as well, because the story went that he scared of a dragon and saved the town. He explained it as if the dragon was bored and didn't want to attack the town anymore, but a dragon doesn't just stop mid-attack, so this is also something that Frieren noticed, and it really came down to the point that the dragon was in fact scared, not necessarily scared, but he was cautious. The dragon felt that Stark was actually strong and that proceeding without thinking about the attack wouldn't be that smart. When we see Stark go up against the dragon 1-against-1, we actually see how strong he is. So he doesn't even notice that within a couple of strikes he already beat the dragon quite easily as well. And the way they animated that too, that was clean as fuck. In a later episode where he fights against the demons, you can also see this kind of lag in his own confidence, in his own skill come back, since he's doubting, himself, doesn't really know if he can beat them, can take them on, but at the end of the day, he won his battle. We also saw a brief moment where a new side character got introduced. It was the priest, and I like how they kind of set it up for a future meeting with the priest and the friend that he's looking for, so I know for sure that that's something that's gonna come back later in the story. The characters together and the party they formed are very well set up, and it makes for a really enjoyable watch. It even won the first place in the top 10 best anime of the season of fall 2023, so for me that was like a wake-up call saying stop sleeping on this shit and go watch it, go binge this. The manga which the anime is based on, which is called Sousou no Frieren, has also won gold in the 69th Shogakukan Manga Award. It got quite a boost in popularity because of the anime drop itself. Of course the manga itself was popular, but a little extra boost doesn't hurt anybody. Let me know down below what you guys think of Frieren Beyond's Journey's End. If you haven't started the anime yet, or you're like, I don't know if this is a good one, go start the anime or go read the manga. Both of them are very good recommendations. Check out the videos on my channel, with the latest being me discussing the state of Jujutsu Kaisen and also how a fight between Yamamoto and the Zero Squad will go. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys in the next one.